Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here for the RPH Ally Peer Support Show. Today we have another fantastic guest. Her name is Kerri. She's the founder of a company called The Good Listener, and she is going to tell us what that company is, what they do, and why it's important right after this. All right, Kerri, well, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Eric. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you as well. It's nice to have you on, your first time on the RPH Ally Peer Support channel. I know we reconnected the other day and you've told me about what you've been up to recently. And of course, I thought it would be perfect to bring you on here because this is similar to what we do at the RPH Ally Peer Support channel. We're there for others to listen, to provide guidance. And I believe your company does something similar for a large variety of people. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about, I guess you can start with telling us about Good Listener, what it is, and then why did you think it would be a good idea to start this? What led you to making that decision?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. So, Good Listener is a judgment free, empathetic listening and emotional well being company that supports you at home, school, or work. And simply stated, we're the people that we wanted when we were younger, and we just want to be there to show up for everyone. And so, how this all got started, a good friend of mine reached out, and she was having a really hard time, and she said something to me that just kind of struck a chord. And she said, I just need a space. I just need a place that somebody will listen, and just kind of understand what I'm going through. And it would be great to have that. And she said it in the context of not having to burden her friends or family with stuff
Oh
that
yeah.
she was going through. And it
Yep.
just it resonated with me through my journey over the last kind of 10 years in corporate professional space, and being a mom, and navigating all these different waters, and
Yeah.
some unresolved trauma that kind of showed up over the course of a couple of years in corporate America. But we all know that experience. And
I'm Oh, I was going to say, I'm glad you mentioned that your friend who was talking about this mentioned they don't want to be a burden to their friends or their family. Because when I first heard of this too, one of the first things I started thinking, well, isn't that what your friends are for? But you're right, there's barriers there because a lot of times you don't want to burden your friend, or maybe it's something you don't want to tell a friend about because it's I don't know, a secret or something more personal. Or maybe simply your friend would be there to listen, but they're just not there at the right time when you need them. Maybe they're busy working or doing something else and you can't get in contact with them. Whereas Good Listener, people are available 24 hours. Is it 24 hours a day?
So that's the goal, is that
Okay.
we will be available 24 hours a day, as well as multilingual language lines available
Oh,
as well. So we're not just serving an English speaking population, we're serving everybody.
yeah. And this isn't an AI thing you're doing, is it, Kerri?
No,
Or people call and you talk to a chat bot and you think it's a person? No, I know.
no,
I'm
no,
being, I'm being silly,
no.
but you never know this day and age with Chat GPT and everything.
Yeah,
So
no, actually that's a great question, because that was one of the things that, as we were putting all of this together, it's, this big boom of AI, and at the end of the day, every profession, every person that walks through life and has a human experience should be taught how to listen and how to empathetically listen. And wouldn't it be amazing if, as and this is the thought processes as we were putting this together, and that shared professions, healthcare, HR, psychology, psychiatry, education, if we can reach an audience that that are impressionable while they're in school, while they're going through their classes, and they're being trained, or they're training to become professionals, that will be speaking
mhm.
to clients. Sales is another good example.
Yep.
That those are kind of the target areas that we were looking at as far as employing. This helps create a path for them to have some experience, not everybody gets
Yep.
experience with,
Yeah.
speaking with people and understanding what it really means to listen.
Yep.
And
People are terrible at listening.
right,
One of the biggest problems is, and something that I've learned as well, is a lot of people listen to respond. They don't listen to understand. And if you're not listening to understand, you're doing it wrong.
right, right. And
And it
that's a
sounds
learned
like
habit. And you have to be taught how to do that. And it
yep,
takes a little bit.
it
Um,
does.
but it's also listening without judgment and listening without ulterior motives,
Yep.
listening with simply the intention to listen and to understand and to validate. And, you know, I think what resonated with me the most as we were putting this together is there's only a handful of times that I can recall that I've ever truly been listened to. And, and how I felt when that took place, and
Hmm.
then being able to recreate that in a space that it it's it, it's everywhere. It needs to be everywhere. And,
Yeah.
and being able to partner with different companies and being able to, kind of put this out into the universe. And, I just let it go, here,
Yeah.
here it is. and and that's where it came from.
And tell us a little bit about how it works. If there's somebody watching this right now and they say, "Hey, it sounds like a great idea. I can really use somebody to talk to," and then tell us a little bit more too, like about if they just listen. Let's back up. Let's start there. Do they just listen, or do they provide guidance or suggestions? Will they say things like, "Oh, well, based on our conversation, I don't think you're getting enough sleep. Try to get 8 hours of sleep tonight." Or they realize somebody's not getting exercise enough throughout the week. Will they recommend that they get 4 to 5 days of physical activity? Um,
Yeah. So
Tell us a little bit about that.
sure. So the empathetic listening training, or the good listener specialist training, that what the focus is on is simply being there to listen, to support, and to validate, and to, create that space, that suggestions, or, it's not so much advice giving, but it is more suggestive of, hey, here are some resources. Here are some different things that you could potentially do.
Okay.
But it's also recognizing when they need to kind of bring it to that next level, or when people are ready to go to a coach, or have a referral to a counselor or to a therapist, or trauma specialist. Those are areas that, I don't consider us. We will never be therapy. We will never be, a counselor. What we are is advanced peer-to-peer support. and
Yeah.
and I say advanced peer-to-peer support because it's not just about shared experiences. Some of the peer-to-peer support groups that I've been in myself, and this is just my personal opinion, I find myself somewhat being placated at times, and it's,
Hmm.
just they're there, oh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and it's a shared experience, and it's helpful, but it's not at that kind of that next level where, the person that is listening to me has some training, and they have some background, and they understand, okay, here's how to navigate some of these different areas, and let's do it together. And
Yeah.
so, that's, I think, from a perspective of, what the barrier to entry is, it is a low barrier to entry, as far as being, just needing a listener, just needing somebody to talk to, needing somebody that you can just
Yeah.
vent, lose your stuff, and nobody is
Yeah.
going to judge you. It's a
Yep.
safe place.
Yep.
And then if you're ready, and if our clients are ready, or, they're open to it, we have the next level available. We have a huge network in coaching, in life coaching, in wellness coaching, in emotional support coaching, in mindful coaching, business coaching, executive coaching, career coaching, because it all kind of goes together.
Yep.
And if they're ready to take action to some of those suggested steps, then we can support them there as well. And
Yep.
it's, but it's not salesy. It's not, it's a natural progression of, okay, now I'm ready to actually do something about it. I'm sick of hearing myself talk about it.
Yeah. It seems like it would be a very natural progression with just everything that you're doing, because you're there strictly to support them mainly by listening, right? And that's what you're already doing. There's really nothing to push. But if it progresses to the phase where they want something additional, something extra that you're not able to provide, well, then you can point them in the right direction. Exactly. It got me thinking about something I've had to learn in marriages, and I think a lot of men I've heard have this problem where their wives will come to them with a problem. And as a man, I'm not saying only men do this, I'm sure a lot of women want to do this too. We're solution oriented, where we want to start solving the problem. So there's so many times my wife is, telling me about an issue, and I'm like trying to say, oh, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, here's what you should do. And she gets so mad. She's like, I wasn't asking for solutions. Right. And this is like, you could like always quote me for the conversation. And I'm like, well, why are you coming to me with your problems then? This is just how a guy thinks. And she goes, oh, I just want you to listen.
Yes.
I just want you to listen, because it makes me feel better when I'm able to tell you about what's going on with me, so you can better understand me. I don't want you to do anything. And that was like so powerful of me to have that understanding, and I'm not afraid to admit that, like, I was ignorant, like that's what she wanted, like, hey, that's my honesty. Right. But going back to good listener, I mean, that's exactly what she wanted. That's exactly what a lot of people want. They necessarily don't want a solution. There's some value and power in being able to talk about what's going on with you and hear yourself saying those words. And a lot of times when you get it out there, that alone is very therapeutic.
Exactly. And and the just the cathartic experience of, again, being listened to, and having somebody that's going to be able to just provide you that validation is huge. There's several epidemics that are happening in our society right now, and self-awareness, self-awakening, loneliness, all these different things that, again, people are picking their head up and looking around going, man, I really need, or I could really use, and and that, it's what has happened, Eric, is that we put it out with such a simple message that it has turned into this profound interpretation of what it means to be a good listener. And at the end of the day, everybody deserves a good listener. And, whether that's us or, whether that's, somebody else that, has that ability and that unique perspective to be able to just shut everything off and listen, hold on to those people if you have them in your life, because they are a gem, and and they need to be reminded how much of a gem that they are, because there's not enough of it going around.
Yep, I agree with you completely. So for anybody watching this, they're probably curious, well, how does it work? That sounds great. So Kerri, tell us how it works. If somebody's interested in this, what do they do?
Yeah, so it is as simple as deciding you need a good listener, going to our website, which is www.goodlistener.co, and then deciding what you want to talk about. So you go to the schedule appointment and decide what you want to talk about. We have a list of kind of predefined criteria or categories that you can pick from, and then deciding how you want to meet with us. We have phone, video, and text capability. And then just deciding how long you want to meet with us for, 15, 30, 60 minutes. And that's it. And you were there, and, and it's as simple as that.
Wow. And so they pay, you mentioned this to me the other day, they pay per amount of time. So if you want 15 minutes, you pay a smaller price. If you want a half hour, you pay a little more. If you want an hour, you pay more. One thing that we didn't talk about previously was the options, the text versus video call versus phone. And I think that's awesome, because people are going to have their preferences. I'm sure some people, they don't want to actually talk to anybody. They want to text it. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they're at work and they can't talk, but they could text. Exactly. And the same thing with the video versus the phone. Maybe somebody's too shy or they don't feel comfortable enough on video, but on the phone, they feel a lot more comfortable and they're able to be more open and share more about what's going on with them to have the session be more effective.
Yeah. And what we're finding in the clients that have already started to use our services is that they naturally kind of progress in that fashion as well. They feel more comfortable either in text or by phone in the first couple of sessions, and then it progresses into video. But that's the goal, is just simply consistently show up for people and be there when they need us. And that's exactly what we've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, so cool. And going back to the time that they pay, so 15 minutes, they could be, is it texting for 15 minutes? I mean, I think it makes more sense for me, like on a phone for 15 minutes, but if you start texting, is once you start the text conversation, the clock stops, and then when the clock stops, no more text.
Yeah, the texting is a little that tends to kind of get into a space where we recommend that if you're going to text, obviously don't drive,
Right.
be
Please
in
don't.
be in a space where you can focus and you
Be
can focus
attentive
and
to the conversation.
for that 15 minutes, because it does go by really fast. And we do have the ability that if an hour isn't enough, if 15 minutes isn't enough, you can add time while you're in the session with the listener, so you stay in that consistent space with them. And and as long as you build rapport and you have that trust, because that takes a little bit to to kind of create that space.
It certainly does. I remember when I've done therapy, it's always like that first session or 2 or 3,
God.
like I feel like you're not even getting anything done yet. You're just kind of establishing that rapport, allowing them to get to know you, but the work doesn't begin until after that's happened. So it can take some time.
Right.
You mentioned, I think you mentioned in the future you're going to have a membership subscription as well, which I think would be awesome, because a lot of these clients, a lot of these users of yours, I'm sure if they really like it, they're going to want to use it a lot. Yet scheduling it in 15-minute increments or hour increments may not be as practical as saying, okay, cool, I'm going to pay a certain set price per month, which gives me so much time that better suits their needs and might make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
What's the time frame on that? Do you guys have any idea?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're we are building all of these things out as we as they come up. And the first one, really honestly, was to develop our affiliate program, which we are getting ready to launch in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have an affiliate program. We'll also have a business affiliate program. And I think that once as the subscription model kind of started to circulate in the conversation, I wanted to make sure that we had enough trained listeners to be able to support a subscription style model, because it takes a little bit with the training. It takes a little bit to kind of help build that clientele and build the just the awareness of the service being available. So, I would imagine, and I know that our goal would be, 30, 60, 90, right? What do you want to pick first? So, as we start to build and grow, a subscription model would be, I would say by the end of the year.
And remind us, this is a very young company.
Yeah.
How young is this company?
Yeah, we launched almost 4 months ago,
4
and
months.
went live a month ago. And we already have trained listeners across the US. We have clients that have been calling in. We have started to really develop some, strategic business relationships, and really get into spaces that, want this, preventative advanced peer-to-peer support.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think it's really great what you're doing. We will cut you some slack about not having all of the features available, since you've only been doing it for a month or so. But Kerri, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I know your time is valuable and is respectful of your time, but do you have anything last things you want to share with any of the viewers?
No,
I know we covered a lot. We're supposed to talk for 15 minutes. We went for almost double that, which is a good sign.
Yeah, no, just thank you so much for having us here. And if anybody, is interested or needs a little bit more information, I am available and happy to talk.
Okay, fantastic, Kerri. And I'll repeat that website one more time. It's www.goodlistener.co.
Yes.
CO, not
CO.
com.
Yep.
No M on
O
the end,
M.
guys. If you try
No.
the M, you're not going to find Kerri. So, well, Kerri, thank you so much again for joining us. Take care, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, Eric. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.